I want to welcome you back to this week on Enemy of My Truth. And I have the honor of welcoming Jan Ware of Heartstone Energy. Jan's incredible Reiki healing practice creates such a safe, nurturing space for others, and her deep knowledge and support in the helping of others through their grief makes her a true pillar in our community. Her work with the grief recovery method is just one part of who she is, yet it carries such a powerful impact, helping people find compassion, renewal, and healing in the midst of loss and grief. I've had the privilege of witnessing Jan's journey, and it's an honor to celebrate the beautiful work she shares with others. In today's episode, Jan opens up about the healing she offers through her Reiki practice, along with her powerful work with the grief recovery method, and the profound ways both can bring light to those carrying grief. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. So, Jan, I'm so glad that you're here, and I wanted to kind of dive into some questions and get to know and share with our audience a bit about your journey. So the first question is, can you share what first drew you into the healing space of Reiki and how that initial experience shaped your path?
Sure. Well, over the course of just a few years, my family experienced a lot of loss. We lost my brother, we lost my mother, my nephew, my sister, and another nephew. So it was just bombarding. But prior to the last two losses, I had spent some time with family, supporting them in their grief. And when I got home, I was exhausted. I was completely wiped out. And someone suggested, I wish I could remember who it was, someone suggested that I try Reiki, going to Reiki. So I went, and it was so profound and so life altering, really. I felt this incredible light. I felt this weight that I was carrying around kind of release. And I went back a few times, and eventually she said, I think you should go get certified. I think there is something here for you. And I said, oh, okay. And then I looked up you. I'd seen you before, and went to Reiki 1. And there are a few things that I remember from that class. The first was, during a break, you spread out a bunch of books. You just put them on the floor. You're like, hey, here they are. As I looked at the titles, I realized that I had read 50 to 75% of the books over the last 25 years.
Synchronicities.
So I was like, I think I'm where I need to be. And then the other thing I remember from that class is when we all left, you're like, okay, you guys are going to be exhausted. It can be very draining, learning energy work and such. And I was the complete opposite. I was so full of energy and life. And I said, okay, this is good. So after sitting with that for a while, I ended up signing up for Reiki 2 and Reiki 3. I'd done some Reiki on friends, and they experienced quite a bit of energy shifts and such, as they're supposed to. And I was like, I think I'm going to go for it. So I opened up Heartstone Energy. And that's how I came to be.
I love hearing your journey of what brought you there and where the loss, that it seemed like it just was one after the other. That I always say, we know this, that we don't really make changes unless we get really uncomfortable. And those losses were less looking at the loss of life and more about the energy of life that's still here, even in the presence of non-physical energy of those that are in spirit. So it's like shifting where you're coming from, Jan. Like there's another way to see the death process through a place of eternal life. How do we connect there? And it starts with the basis of our energy and understanding our energy. And I think many people come into a Reiki class like, well, what's going to happen? Like, what is Reiki? And
Right.
it's that deep understanding of your own energy field and how you feel. So, can you tell a little bit about the name of your business and where that came from?
Sure. So before my sister and my other nephew passed away, I I was doing pretty good. And then my sister passed and I was on the beach. I'm very fortunate as you are to live near the ocean and the beach, and I take advantage of that often. And I was walking and I was just like, oh, Mom, I need a sign. I need to know you're here with me. Even though I know she is, I still was like, oh, please just, and I had my dog and he stopped and I looked down and there was a heartstone. And I was like, oh, there it is. That's it. And quite frankly, just about every time I look for a stone, I find one. I have them all over my house. In my studio, I have heart stones everywhere. So that's how it came to be.
It really holds special meaning on so many levels for you, and almost as though spirit, we can talk more about that, was guiding you, letting you know that they're always here. And as us human beings need that physical proof, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I was like, okay, I know you're here. I know because I feel you, but okay, I'm still me. Can you just
Give me something tangible, give me something in the physical form that confirms. And even then I might still question it, but I think it's this beautiful connection that spirit literally has to knock us over the head to say, I am here, I am with you. And what a beautiful symbolic piece with the stones. And whenever you go and then whenever you're walking, that spirit's right there with you. And what a beautiful name for the business, and really draws people in that way. So I love that. So Jan, then how did Reiki, as you stepped into Reiki and you were certified in level 1, level 2, then onto level 3, and working on friends and family, which I find we leave a Reiki class, and it's like, what do we do with all this energy? Like you want to go do something, right? You just like, it's like busting out of the seams, and you want to, like you want to play with it, you want to feel it, and not everybody is there, and they have to kind of like look at you and be like, okay, what's going on? So, how did Reiki become a part of your grief journey? And in what ways did it help you navigate and transform that experience of you stepping through the grief over the months and years from becoming attuned to Reiki?
um yeah, I gave that a lot of thought, and it just, I've always had intuitions about things, and I feel like when I went through the Reiki attunement, it just clicked. And because of that, I just feel as if the energy, as you said earlier, the energy shifts and you realize that this isn't it. This isn't it. Our bodies, where we are right now,
Mm.
there's so much more.
Right.
And it really, really helped when my sister and my nephew, Christopher, died, because I'd gone through it before and then they died. And even though it was heartbreaking and it was horrible to see other families suffer, and to know their spirit isn't here to light the spaces that they were in, it I handled it very differently, very differently.
Do you think
It's,
that handling it, can you explain more of that, how you handled it? Like, what is, you
sure.
say you handled it? Yeah, go further with that.
Yeah. So what, and excuse me, what ended up, it's just when my mom died and my other nephew Philly died, it was during COVID. It was just a mess. I hadn't been attuned to Reiki, and I always knew there was more. Obviously, I'd read all those books, but it I just felt a connection. I felt a connection that I hadn't felt before. Um, Not because it wasn't there, it's because I wasn't open to it. And I was,
So
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. And it's within you, right? Like it was because that leads me to how Reiki opened this awareness.
Mhm.
And then if we can speak a little bit on that, you went on to develop in other spiritual practices, in other
Mhm.
ways. Do you want to share a little bit about what that led you to from your own curiosity and as your energy started to open up? What other teachings did you step into for yourself?
Sure. I first of all, um, practically, I was like, there's got to be something to help people in grief. There just has to be more than because not everybody's going to go to Reiki and not everybody is going to go get attuned. And they reach a point and they're looking. I saw it within my own family, going to pastors, going to counselors, and nothing. They would go a few times, be like, this isn't working. This isn't working. And I was like, gosh, there's got to be something out there. So I did the deep dive into the internet and I discovered a practice called the grief recovery method. And it is a step by step process. Um, it's 7 sessions. There is a beginning and there is an end. And it's fascinating and it helps people, it helped me personally see that we as a society have it all wrong. We have it completely wrong. The stages of grief that Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, that everybody quotes, the anger and the denial, and I don't even know what they all are, but um, that's what we're people have said, oh well, you got to go through those stages and then you'll be okay. Well, no, first of all, that's not why she developed it. She developed it for people who are diagnosed with terminal illnesses, and then it got hijacked by by the powers that be, and suddenly it was the be all end all about grief.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, well, that's really fascinating in terms of talking about there's different degrees of grief.
Yes.
And so if we talk about the grief that you're stepping into to help support your family and personally experiencing it in the loss
Mhm.
and the work that we do through energy work, those that step into mediumship and we're connecting with our loved ones, can you tell us more about the grief recovery method and what really drew you to the teachings with that and becoming certified and tell us more about stepping into that space.
Sure. Well, what I liked, I was a math teacher in a prior lifetime, and I like very structure. I like structure, and this is very structured. It's incredibly structured. So the beginning part of it is really all about what I just kind of mentioned, all the misconceptions we have around grief as a society, and where we get those are from people in our lives that we witness. For example, parents, guardians, grandparents. If you are part of a church, maybe people within your church. And we witness that and we go, okay, that's okay. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be sad for a while. Then I'm supposed to pick myself up from my bootstraps and get on with it. And if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. Why can't you get over it? And or if you suddenly are part of life too soon, people are like, well, how can they be out here? How can they be? If it were me, I would be in bed for a year and it's just really, I love that part of it because as I went through it, I'm going, oh my gosh, yes. Oh, yes, I recognize that. And now that I lead and facilitate that for individuals, I see it in their eyes. They're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And it's really enlightening to see that they realize there isn't a right or wrong way to do this. Everybody is on their own path. And yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, it sounds like there's a combination and a balance of with the grief recovery method that you hold a container that there's a beginning and an end and let me know if this sounds right, but there's this area to process that's uniquely your own grief, and how that's going to show up, that healing grief is definitely not linear, but there can be a beginning and an end to create more freedom in your grieving cycle to move forward.
Yes. So one of the things that um, we like to say is you don't we don't want circumstances to create your future. We want you to take the circumstances and mold your future.
Mm.
So another way to look at it is when you think of someone, let's say, who's passed, and I want to be clear that this is for any kind of loss. There's 40 different types of grief. And it's very profound. We work on relationships in this method, but it can be divorce, it can be an estrangement, it can be any kind of divide between people and individuals. So, which I find really interesting because a lot of people come to me thinking they're going to work on, let's say, their mom passed away. And once we do the first part, suddenly they go, I have an estranged relationship with my sister or my father or whoever it may be. And that's the grief we work on.
Isn't that interesting?
It is so fascinating, but I'm sorry, I got off track there. But it's really, we take that piece and we look at the losses and what the end is. I, as a facilitator, am a witness to their grief. I listen. There's a very specific process. There's homework. You read a book. And I lead you through it. And at the end, the hope is that all the could have, should have, and would haves are taken care of. Because that right there is the core of grief.
It's what we carry, right? It's all the should have, would have, could have that we carry day in and day out, not only with, say, the loss of a loved one, but I think even more is the loss of these relationships that are still present in our everyday living, that hold us back. That it
That,
sounds like you're able to really release these lifelong traumas
that's
and
right.
grief that we don't even know that we're holding.
Yes, I can give you a really great example. So I went through the grief recovery and I worked on my dad had passed, and my dad could be a very difficult man. But when he died, I was like, we are good. We took care of everything, all of us were at his bedside. I felt really okay with it. But then I did the grief recovery method with him because there was some stuff I wanted to clear out. And I had such a, as Oprah would say, an aha moment through the process. It was, you kind of look back over the relationship and certain things. And my father would come home and we would all go, dad's home, dad's home, dad's home. Right. And my mom, God bless her, thought it was because, yay, dad's home. That is not what it was. It was like, is he coming in whistling? Is he slamming the door? What's going to happen? So we all went to our rooms and kind of listened, right? And what that made me realize is I've been married for a very long time. And once I did this, I realized that every time my husband pulled in the driveway, and let me be clear, he never did anything. This was what I carried forward. If I was, God forbid, sitting for a moment, I jumped up. Oh, I need to be busy. I need to be doing something. He never, that was me bringing that part forward. When I realized that, I went, holy cow. And just to say, I don't do that anymore.
Right. Well, that ties into, if we relate this to Reiki and
Mm-hmm.
we combine these two practices as we are, stepping into the modality of Reiki and healing, Reiki energy is going to the energy field And it's going to those emotional and mental traumas that we've been holding on to, like you just said, that we didn't even know that were there, that we're projecting, that we still keep alive as though it just happened yesterday. And
That's right.
so, what I'm hearing too is that through the work with the grief recovery method, you are able to give real tools and guidance and structure to healing those wounds in the energetic field that we might do with Reiki or in conjunction. So,
That's
there's
right.
this complementary energy happening, it sounds like, with both.
Mhm.
And I guess that would lead into, do you ever use both of them together, or do you find that somebody may come in for Reiki and then you realize that the grief recovery method may be something that they may want to utilize? Or do they come into the grief recovery and you're like, have you ever thought about Reiki and, blending the two?
Well, the licensing with grief recovery methods, I'm not allowed to combine them. That being said, most of the people that I have led through the grief recovery method were also Reiki clients, and we just do it on different days,
Got it.
which is actually really great. It's actually the best way to do it because they may have in the middle of the grief recovery method, it gets really hard. It is like my clients is really great. Like about the fourth session, they're going, oh yeah, this is awesome. And then we get the fifth one and you dig deep. And I say, you can't quit. You have to do the full 7 sessions because you actually could leave feeling worse.
So when you say it's getting hard, and without, going into all the 7 sessions, but like what would hard look like for somebody that wants to just stop and not go forward? Like what would be an example of that?
Okay. So someone who um, may have lost a spouse and they are heartbroken and they're doing this, but we tend to do one of two things when someone has passed, right? We enshrine them. They never did anything wrong. They were the perfect person. Oh my gosh, they
Sure.
were wonderful. Or we bedevil them, and it's almost a way to cope, right?
Sure.
It's and so what could get hard is someone who goes in, for example, that is enshrining someone. And part of the process is we look at 3 elements. We look at, and this is fine. I don't mind saying it. We look at things that you need to forgive the person for, things that you need to apologize to the person for, and things that you need to thank the person for. And when you get to the part, things that you need to forgive them for, if you're enshrining someone, well, there's nothing. They were perfect. They were wonderful. So my job is to kind of dig deep and ask the questions to kind of pull out things that maybe they've decided to push aside because now the person's gone. But that's when it gets hard because they go, wait a minute. I had this vision of this person, and now you're making me look a little further. And they don't want to.
Right. And do you hold space for somebody who needs to pause the work? And like, what would be an average of the 7 sessions? Is this over weeks, months? Is it as long as they need?
It really, really, it really depends. Some people have done it in 3 weeks because they want to do it twice a week. And I'm
Wow.
like, all right, here we go. And I let them set the pace. You do need time in between the sessions too. As I said, there's readings to do and such. I I am okay with people pausing, but then you lose the momentum of the healing.
Hmm.
So at the very most, I would say 10 days between sessions, if possible. I mean, of course, life happens and things come up, but um, with regards to it being really hard for them, that's where I come in.
Right.
And yeah, and sometimes they can't do it, their homework, because that's part of the homework, quote unquote homework. They can't do it. I say, okay, bring it in. And we might have an extra session.
to do
And
it
I might,
together.
yeah, for me to really help them.
Do you ever work with families together or couples that come in, or is it usually one on one?
It's got to be one on one. And
Okay.
I'm actually thinking about doing a group a Zoom group one, and you can do it, but you're told families and friends should not do it together.
Interesting. So I want to push you a little bit more on that. What's leading you to wanting to do a group? Because
Well,
I would think it would be the collective energy of healing, but I know it's an individual process too.
mhm.
But
Well, they that's how I learned, is in a group, and we went off in pairs. So what I facilitate, if it's one-on-one, I'm facilitating with the person.
mhm,
And as I said in the beginning, I'm being witness
sure,
to their grief and the things they need to say. Well, if you're in a group, you're witness to each other and you help each other. And I kind of pop in and out and help.
yeah,
It's all based. This is not therapy. I want to be
mm,
very, very clear. I'm not a therapist. I'm a
mhm,
facilitator of this program, and it's all based on honesty, confidentiality, as it is with Reiki. Um, it's a trust. You build a trust, and that is part of the process. When I work one-on-one with people, I open up part of my journey to them to show them being an example of how this works. So there's a trust that builds because they see, I've gone through it too.
sure. Right, that vulnerability. Do you find that somebody comes in for the 7 sessions and they can use the tools that they received with you to heal other traumas and other grief that they didn't even know that was there? Or do you find them coming back to you to heal the different layers of grief when they're ready, like the 7 sessions over and over?
I have what's called the alumni, and it's only the last 3 sessions because they don't need to hear the beginning part where I debunk all of society's um, information around grief. So then they can come in and do another one. I, for example, have a friend from my uh, training, and she lives in Idaho. And I'll reach out to her and say, "Hey, I'm ready to do another relationship. How about you?" And she says yes. And then we set up a time, and we do it.
That's lovely. I love that and having that connection. Are you able to work with multiple family members? Sometimes with therapy, you can't work with the same person. There's going to be their consent or it's the conflict of interest. Are you able to work with several family members individually?
I haven't had that happen yet, and that's a really good question. I think that's one I would have to go back and ask about. But I imagine I could, because it is all confidential, just not at the same time.
Gotcha. Okay.
I,
Okay.
I have someone who came and worked on a relationship. Well, I've had several people come who end up working on a relationship with someone who's still in their lives. And, I was like, okay, what we do, this isn't for you to go talk to them about this. This is personal work. This is your work. And they don't take, okay, I need to forgive them for this. Okay, I need you to be sorry for this, because it's not going to work.
Right. It's your own work. It's your internal. It's like this is your process. And it's so easy to want to be like, hey, but you did this. And of course, we want it to be, outside of ourselves but it's really forcing us to look inward
That's
and
right.
to heal our own grief because we're choosing to carry the grief, which is fine. But
Yeah,
how much it holds us back and being, as I'm hearing you, Jan, it's really about the energy of freedom to feel the grief when you need to, but know that you can move on with the grief in a way
yeah,
of understanding it.
exactly. And what I like to say is people who are drowning in grief, that you I'm sure see them in your practice, and they just can't move forward. And we I we use the analogy or metaphor, I forget which it is, where someone is holding the grief on their back.
Yeah.
And let me be clear, it's from all their life. There's this backpack full, just full of stones and grief and horribleness. But then this one loss comes, and it's so heavy that they can't move forward with it. Now the backpack is keeping them right where they are, and they
And
can't. So what I try and do through this method is take some of those rocks out, and especially the big one.
Right.
And as what I like to say is, grief can be on top of you and you're stuck, or it can be beside you and you can walk with it and you can see it. And every once in a while, it gets in your path. You might have a day where you're in bed all day. Oh, well, but that's not going to be your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be your life. Then it's going to go to the side again. And when you remember your loved one, or if you are divorced or estranged from someone, you remember that person and you think of a joyful memory, it's going to stay joyful. You aren't going to then go, oh, but they aren't here, or, oh, they hurt me this way, or you just remember the joy.
You're changing the vibration of your thoughts, right? You are creating, the what we think is how we feel, which creates our vibration of how we show up every day. And it sounds like also, if we do that metaphor, you are like the stones always will go into our backpack, but we now have the tools from what it sounds like with your method that you are certified with and work with people, they can take the stones out. They know how to take them out. Like
That's
you
right.
actually can take out the stones and put it beside you and look at it and
Mm-hmm.
lighten your load, like lighten the way that you show up and how it drains or can suffocate or hold you back, which is
Mm-hmm.
a tool you would have for life,
That's right.
which is beautiful, Jan. Um, I wanted to maybe wrap up a little bit here and ask you, and it kind of ties into all of this, but in what ways has stepping into this healing path changed your life, both personally and how you view and support the healing of others? Like, how has this changed how you show up for your life and what that looks like today?
Well, personally, I can say I I don't want to have would have, could have, should have. So I tell the people I love them. I tell when I realize I've hurt someone, I say I'm sorry. I don't let my pride, I am human. So this is the wish list, right? And if someone's hurt me, I don't just shove it down like I used to. I go, that wasn't okay, or what you said didn't land so well, and then we can have a conversation, because that I've learned that is what happens when someone's no longer in your life, and you go, oh, I should have said this. No, like we could have done this, or so I'm a little more open to that personally. And also energetically, I through Reiki, also also the grief recovery method, I'm very protective about my energy. So if there is a situation or something where I'm just getting pulled down, if possible, I remove myself from the situation or the individual. And if it's not possible, I do my self healing. I go to Reiki with someone and really protect myself. And then as far as bringing it forth with working with individuals, I I realize that I don't know their story. If they're on my table for Reiki, what I've learned through the grief recovery method, everybody you meet has a list of losses throughout their life. And I wouldn't dare to assume to know it.
Right? It's opening that door, just like those who step in to become certified in Reiki. We don't know really I think if we knew, we may not push ourselves to know that we can have this beautiful tool and gift to feel ease, to feel relief, to actually heal,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's this piece of permission that, we need permission to heal. Or what if we do heal? Like you brought this up too. Am I okay to sit with that and to move on from something without feeling that I have to stay in my grief for somebody else?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
and having these tools that it sounds like it's really changed the way that you show up. And if you look back on your journey, Jan, the last 5 years, and I don't think anything was just delivered to you like, okay, this is the path. This is what you're going to do, right? Like,
Oh, if only.
right, if only. And so I find that because of that, and I'm just honored to see the path you're walking, Jan, and to be so grateful and again, very honored to see the work you're doing to help others, that this work continues to heal us, as if you want to use the term healer, but in the healing space, that it continues to teach us. Like, I don't think it ever ends. I don't think we say, okay, I'm a Reiki practitioner, I'm a grief recovery method specialist and practitioner, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm healed. I think that if we're to be honest, that every person we work with opens a facet or allows us to maybe take a stone out of our own backpack and
Absolutely.
say, hey, do I need to look at this right now? And that's the greatest gift, that we are always a work in progress. And
Mhm.
there's such an honoring to be in this space with others, that they do trust us, because you want to create that environment that I'm here to be as open as you need to be. And I do understand the journey. We
Right,
understand it, right?
right,
So,
right. Exactly. And it's funny, I also honor my intuition a lot more. So when I am working with clients on the Reiki table, if something comes to me, I used to be like, oh, is this real? Is this, or is it my ego? I just say it now. And if they can receive it, wonderful. If they can't, okay.
well, just to add on before we do wrap up,
Yeah.
what development have you done around this awareness that Reiki has brought to you, that it just begs us to, it's like it knocks on our door, like, oh, so yes, I seem to know these things that I did not know before, or they're very front and center, this awareness, this energy. So can you share a little bit about that?
Sure, sure. The mediumship has been knocking on my door, and I am excited about it. But my ego definitely gets in the way a lot. And by that I mean, is this real? Is this, or am I telling myself a story? So it's a constant battle for me, constant.
And I think that for all of us, I've been, myself in this almost
Mhm.
18 years. And I think that if we don't step into this with a good dose of our own ego, like, in reality, and being humble, like, is this actually happening? And we're doing this. And I think every day unfolds and shows us that we're exactly where we need to be. It's good to question things. It's good to keep ourselves in check. But I want to ask you a little bit more on that. When you talk about your mediumship coming to the surface, can you let the audience know a little bit about what have you done to step into that space a little bit for yourself, and how is it showing up for you now today?
Oh, sure. Well, it came, I went to your, after the Reiki, boy, as I was doing Reiki in your classroom on each other, things just were flying around in my head, and I'm saying it and it's really resonating. And with the other classmate, or and vice versa. So I was like, okay. And then you offered mediumship one, and I took that, and that kind of blew me away. The thing that got me on that one, I have to say, was you gave us a number to take home, and we didn't know who it was that was associated for, and we were supposed to sit and meditate and then come back, and then you tell us, okay, this was your number, and you sit with the person, and what came to you, you share. Well, when I did that, I had it down to what scarf she was wearing. Like, she said, oh, I was going to wear this other scarf, and then I did the one with the hearts, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And there was just thing after thing after thing. And so I have continued taking development with you, and the community that you have uh, just facilitated. You've got this community of wonderful individuals, and it's been really great to develop even more and more. And I'm looking forward to a weekend of it soon.
I know, I know. I'm so excited. And to hear that, your experience, that I feel like Reiki for some is like the gateway, is the gateway to this spiritual opening. And when that happens, and I see it happen And when I saw it happen with you, and then you stepped into the mediumship class because your energy just begs you to be like, so you think that's all you're going to do? Well, I've got news for you. And as you went home with that exercise and you're attaching an energy to just a simple number on an index card, you're like, what is this? This is ridiculous. And then everybody comes back the next day. And as you talk about how much you tapped into an energy field, even though we call that non-locality, that we're not in the same space, this quantum entanglement, you were reading the energy. And so imagine when we have our hands on somebody in an energy session for Reiki, or even we're doing distant healing, the permission we have to tap into somebody's energy field and what we're shown. I mean, not only in ways of guiding somebody or connecting to our loved ones in spirit, but how that even incorporates into the grief work you're doing for someone to help themselves, for someone to go there, and in all the work that you're holding in all the space. And I love the fact that you are connecting more to spirit. Now, just want to ask you, do you tap into mediumship with your Reiki sessions? Do you ask somebody like, hey, I've got a message for you? Or is this just something you are quietly, taking in and stepping in for yourself? And maybe you would approach the right person. Will you be offering something like that? Or how does that look right now?
Um, well, I do tap into it with Reiki. Before a client comes to see me, I meditate. I mean, I've never met them before. And I meditate and I write down all the things people, spirit comes to me, things come to me like, okay, you need to go. You do this, which is really amazing. Okay, you're not drinking enough water. You need to drink water. Yeah, like things like that. But I don't share it with them when they first come in the room. I do the Reiki session and see if more is added on to what came to me before.
Sure.
And then I say, okay, I have some things I'd like to share with you if you're open, and everybody is always open.
Right.
And it often resonates quite a bit.
Yeah.
And my favorite is when I have them take a picture of the page, and they'll sit there and be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And then I get an email 24 hours later and they go, oh my gosh, when I got in my car, I realized XYZ. And I'm like, yeah, there it is.
There it is. It's that door opening, and you just can't help it. And that's one of the beautiful things of watching any of my students like kind of come into their own, and you stepping into your own practice, Jan, is seeing the evolvement that we think we're just going to stay at Reiki, but that no, like it's there as the vehicle, but the engine and what that vehicle starts to look like changes over time. And trust me, there's all that nervousness and imposter syndrome. I'm like, can I do this? And I find every session will nudge you. Every person, because we don't know what a client's going to bring in. We have no idea the energy they're going to hold, because how could we? So as every client steps in, it's an invitation to ourselves to step deeper into this work and do it with them and ask permission and say, hey, I've got something I want to share with you. And I find like that's such a beautiful way of how it lets us gently step into this work and trust it and trust ourselves. So I love that. And I love that you shared that. It's great. So how can people find you? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
On my website, I have a website, and it is called heartstoneenergy.com. And it's got a way to book there. It's got all my contact. I'm actually moving my studio on Saturday. So I haven't been seeing clients in person for a couple weeks because I haven't had a studio, but I will be after Saturday, and it will be in York, Maine, right down the street from you.
I love it. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm so excited to have you in the village. It takes a village, as I say. So can individuals work with you remotely for both? Does it have to be in person? What does that look like?
At this point, I do grief recovery method, both remotely and in person. I've worked with people in South Carolina, in Florida, so I can do that. I personally like to do Reiki in person. Okay. That is just a personal thing. I have not ventured into distance Reiki.
Okay, so that's good to know. So they can get a hold of you at the website. And are you on any social media?
I am on Facebook and Instagram, and it's the Heartstone Energy, and I do a blog on my website. So, and I have done another podcast, which was really fun. Back home, some in Maryland, friends of mine are doing a self-healing.
What's the name of that podcast? I'd love to give them a shout out.
Eastern Shore Talk.
Eastern Shore Talk, wonderful. So, and I had already checked them out, but I love that they're doing that work and they brought you on too. So, because the work you're doing is so important.
Thank you so much.
Jan, thank you for taking this time to sit down and talk. I always love being around you and just hearing about what you're doing. And I'm honored and grateful to be in the same space with you, to grow and to see your light for others. So thank you for being on the show today. It means so much.
Thank you. I feel exactly the same way because I wouldn't be on this path without you.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. So thank you so much. And I look forward to chatting again soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.